Not from others, but from yourself. The quiet agreement to get by, to survive, to manage, to lower the dream just enough that it no longer frightens you, to call security success, to call comfort achievement, to call existence a life. You did not announce this decision. You drifted into it. One postponed aim, one compromise at a time, one excuse repeated until it sounded reasonable. And now, perhaps, you wake with a dull sense that something is missing, but you cannot name it. I will name it for you. You were not born to get by. You were born with imagination capable of creating enterprises, with desire strong enough to alter circumstances, with a mind that can command wealth, influence, contribution, legacy. Yet somewhere along the way, you exchange demand for tolerance. You tolerate the income, you tolerate the routine, you tolerate the quiet disappointment, and tolerance is the language of drift. Look at your own thoughts. How often have you said, "It's enough"? Enough to pay the bills, enough to avoid risk, enough to keep peace. But deep within you know, enough was never your dream. It was your retreat. There is a difference between gratitude and resignation. Gratitude strengthens ambition. Resignation suffocates it. Picture a man at the kitchen table late at night. The house is silent. The numbers barely add up. He tells himself, "At least I am getting by." But what he does not say aloud is this: "I once intended to build more." That whisper is not weakness. It is truth trying to wake him. You were given the capacity to choose a definite chief aim and pursue it with faith and organized effort. The laws that govern success do not discriminate. They do not ask your age. They do not inquire about your past failures. They respond only to definiteness backed by decision. And yet most men never demand their lives. They wait to be chosen, wait to be invited, wait for conditions to improve, wait for permission. They stand at the edge of their potential, asking politely when they should be declaring boldly. Demand does not mean arrogance. It means clarity. It means writing what you want in specific terms. It means deciding you will render service worthy of it. It means repeating your aim daily until your subconscious accepts it as inevitable. It means refusing alternatives that contradict it. That is how a man stops getting by. Understand this clearly. The world does not reward vague desire. It rewards definite purpose, money, influence, opportunity. They flow toward the man who knows exactly what he intends to secure and is willing to pay the price. If you continue as you are, what will change? Another year of maintenance, another year of average, another year explaining why this is simply how life is. Ignore this message and you will repeat the pattern. But if something in you rises while you listen, if you feel even a spark of indignation at the thought of shrinking your life, then you are ready. Ready to demand. Demand better thinking. Demand disciplined habits. Demand that each day move you closer to your chief aim. Demand that your work reflect your true capacity. Demand that your income reflect the value you can render. You were not born to merely survive your years. You were born to shape them. And the moment you decide that getting by is no longer acceptable, you cross an invisible line. Your posture changes, your speech changes, your choices sharpen. You begin to seek associates who think bigger. You withdraw energy from distractions. You move with intent. Life begins to respond, not because it favors you, but because you finally aligned with law. The most dangerous lie a man can believe is that smallness is safety. Smallness is slow decay. It is the erosion of confidence. It is the quiet regret that grows louder with time. Demanding your life is not reckless. It is responsible. It is the acceptance of your own capacity. So ask yourself now, honestly, are you living at the edge of your potential or at the edge of your comfort? You were not born to get by. You were born to decide, to build, to lead, to create, to rise. And before this message ends, you will see exactly how to replace tolerance with demand, and how to begin living as the man you were always capable of becoming. There is no trumpet that announces the moment a man begins to shrink. There is no public declaration that says, "Today I shall lower my expectations." It happens in silence. A postponed ambition here, a softened standard there, a quiet adjustment made not from wisdom, but from fatigue. And slowly, almost politely, he begins to tolerate what once would have disturbed him. Tolerance, when applied to injustice or hardship with courage, can be virtue. But tolerance applied to one's own unused capacity is decay. A man who tolerates mediocrity does not collapse in a single year. He erodes. He makes peace with income that does not reflect his value. He makes peace with routine that does not challenge his growth. He makes peace with the dull ache that whispers, "You once intended more." He calls it practicality. He calls it realism. He calls it responsibility. But beneath those respectable words lies retreat. There is a profound difference between gratitude and resignation. Gratitude says, "I am thankful for what I have, and I will build from it." Resignation says, "This is all I shall ever have." One strengthens ambition, the other suffocates it. Look honestly at the phrase, "I'm getting by." It sounds harmless, it even sounds humble. Yet what does it conceal? It conceals the admission that you are no longer building, only maintaining. You are no longer advancing, only surviving. Survival is instinctive. Achievement is deliberate. You were not born merely to maintain breath and balance accounts. You were born with imagination powerful enough to design enterprises, to influence communities, to multiply value through organized effort. When you accept getting by, you commit a quiet crime against that imagination. Consider the man who sits at his table late at night. The household sleeps. He reviews his numbers. They are sufficient, not abundant, not expanding, merely sufficient. He tells himself, "At least we are stable." Yet beneath that sentence lies another. "I once intended to build something greater." That buried sentence is truth attempting to rise. Most men silence it. They say it is childish. They say it is impractical. They say it is dangerous. In truth, it is their original self-speaking. Andrew Carnegie began in modest circumstances. He could have gotten by comfortably in a minor position and called it success. Instead, he refused the insult of smallness. He saw beyond his immediate condition. He demanded from himself growth equal to his capacity. The difference between the man who settles and the man who rises is not talent. It is intolerance of mediocrity. Tolerance becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. Identity shapes destiny. If you tolerate small compromises daily, you will wake 10 years later wondering where your ambition went. It did not vanish. It was negotiated away, negotiated in small increments. One avoided risk, one declined opportunity, one excuse repeated until it sounded reasonable. Each repetition hardened into belief. Belief shaped conduct. Conduct shaped result. Result confirmed belief. The circle closed. This is how 10 years disappear without drama. You do not need catastrophe to lose time. You need only quiet tolerance. Ask yourself honestly, when did you last feel indignation at your own underperformance? When did you last say, "This does not represent my true capacity"? If that voice has been silent, it is not because it died. It is because you trained yourself not to hear it. The first step in reclaiming your life is not new technique. It is moral awakening. You must feel again that quiet insult, the insult of accepting less than you are capable of creating. Let this affirmation stir you. I refuse to shrink my life to fit my fear. Speak it slowly. Notice what rises in you. Perhaps resistance, perhaps discomfort. Good. Discomfort signals that truth is touching habit. Others perceive tolerance even if you do not speak it aloud. They see it in your posture. They hear it in your cautious tone. They sense that you are not fully demanding of yourself, and they respond accordingly. The world mirrors your internal standard. If you treat your potential casually, others will treat it casually. If you present yourself as just getting by, opportunity will pass you by. Not because the world is cruel, because it responds to definiteness. The man who refuses mediocrity carries a different presence. He speaks of improvement not as possibility, but as necessity. He does not boast. He declares. Declaration is the opposite of tolerance. Within you exists a spark that resents average living. That spark is not arrogance. It is recognition of capacity. To ignore it is to waste years. To honor it is to reclaim them. You may believe that demanding more will disturb your peace. In truth, smallness disturbs peace more deeply. It breeds quiet regret. It produces comparison. It creates envy disguised as cynicism. Expansion eliminates envy. When you are building, you do not resent others who build. You study them. You learn from them. You convert envy into instruction. Tolerance keeps you stagnant. Stagnation breeds bitterness. This is the hidden cost of getting by. If you continue as you are, what will change? Another year of stability without growth. Another year of modest expectation. Another year of telling yourself that circumstances will eventually improve. Circumstances do not improve for the tolerant. They improve for the demanding. Demand does not mean reckless appetite. It means clear expectation backed by willingness to render greater service. But before demand can exist, tolerance must be rejected. Say again, I refuse to shrink my life to fit my fear. Let those words mark a turning point. You were not born to negotiate your ambition downward. You were not born to measure your worth by what is comfortable. You were born to expand. And the first act of expansion is to declare that quiet tolerance has ended. This realization alone can save 10 years. 10 years of explaining, 10 years of adjusting downward, 10 years of wondering what might have been. Once you recognize tolerance as decay rather than safety, you cannot return to ignorance. You will begin to notice every small compromise. You will begin to question every phrase that sounds like resignation. You will begin to feel again the original desire that once frightened you. That is not danger, that is awakening, and awakening is the first step toward living as the man you were meant to become. Once a man recognizes the crime of quiet tolerance, he stands at a threshold. He may feel indignation, even embarrassment, at how long he has accepted less than his capacity. But indignation alone does not transform a life. It must be converted into decision. There is a vast difference between wanting more and demanding more. Wanting is emotional. Demanding is deliberate. Wanting speaks in hope. Demanding speaks in terms. The moment you decide to demand your life, you cease negotiating with fear. Demand is not arrogance, it is clarity. To demand from life what you are willing to earn is an act of responsibility. It requires you to state exactly what you intend to secure, not vaguely, not emotionally, but specifically. Write it. If you intend to increase your income, write the exact sum. If you intend to rise in position, write the definite office or responsibility. If you intend to build an enterprise, write its structure in outline, fix a date, name the service you will render in return. Until you write it, you have not demanded. You have only desired. Edwin C. Barnes did not merely hope to work with Thomas Edison. He declared inwardly that he would become his associate. He did not know the route. He did not yet possess the credentials, but he possessed decision. Decision preceded opportunity. Demand precedes attainment. Most men speak politely to life. They say, if conditions allow. They say, perhaps someday. They say, if I am fortunate. Such language reveals uncertainty. Life does not respond to uncertainty. It responds to definiteness. When you write your demand in clear language, something changes within you. You feel exposed. You feel accountable. You feel as though retreat would now be visible. That feeling is strength. It burns the bridge of retreat. As long as your ambition remains undefined, you may excuse delay indefinitely. Once it is written with a date and an exchange, delay becomes costly. You must also declare what you will give. There is no something for nothing. If you demand a larger income, you must demand from yourself greater service, higher skill, wider influence. If you demand leadership, you must demand discipline in speech and conduct. Demand is balanced by contribution, and you will notice immediate change in your posture. The man who has declared his claim stands differently. His voice carries firmness. His eyes reveal direction. Others sense it. They may not know the contents of your written aim, but they will detect certainty. They will hear fewer qualifying phrases in your speech. They will see that you no longer shrink from stating what you intend. Certainty commands attention. Attention invites opportunity. When Andrew Carnegie gathered his mastermind alliance, he did not ask timidly for cooperation. He presented a clear vision. He demanded excellence of himself and of those around him. That demand raised the standard of his environment. Your environment will adjust to your clarity. Some will withdraw. Those who prefer smallness will feel uncomfortable near your demand. Others will be drawn closer. Those who think expansively will recognize in you a familiar seriousness. Demand reorganizes association. You must not confuse this with aggression. Aggression seeks to take without giving. Demand seeks to earn what is claimed. It is the declaration that you will no longer drift. The day after you write your definite claim, nothing may appear changed outwardly. You will wake in the same house, enter the same occupation, see the same faces. But inwardly, the line has been crossed. You are no longer tolerating. You are building. This crossing alone can reclaim 20 years of drift, for drift survives on indecision. When a man finally decides in writing, drift loses ground. But decision must be guarded. Each morning, read your demand aloud. Each evening, review the day and ask, did my conduct honor my claim? If not, correct without self-condemnation. Correction is evidence of seriousness. You will encounter fear. Fear of criticism may whisper that you are aiming too high. Fear of failure may remind you of past attempts. Fear of poverty may warn you not to risk stability. These fears lose strength when faced with definite commitment. Speak your demand again. Repeat your affirmation. I demand from life what I am willing to earn. Let those words carry weight. Over time, you will notice transformation. You will seek knowledge more intentionally because you have named your objective. You will arrange your hours differently because you have fixed a date. You will measure your progress because you have defined it. Measurement prevents illusion. Illusion wastes years. The world respects a man who respects his own aim. When you speak clearly about what you are building, others treat you as builder rather than bystander. They offer counsel, opportunity, even challenge. Challenge strengthens capacity. Capacity increases value. Value attracts reward. This chain begins with demand. You were not born to wait politely at the edge of your potential. You were born to declare it. Write your claim. Fix the date. Name the exchange. Read it daily. Guard it from ridicule and let it mark the end of tolerance. For once you have demanded your life in definite terms, you cannot return comfortably to getting by. You will have tasted clarity, and clarity does not surrender easily. Once a man has refused quiet tolerance and written his definite claim upon life, he stands under a new obligation. He can no longer live casually. His conduct must rise to meet his declaration. A written demand without elevated behavior is self-deception. The world does not respond to ink alone. It responds to conduct. And therefore, the third stage in ceasing to get by is the raising of daily standard, not occasional intensity, not emotional bursts. Daily, measured, disciplined conduct that reflects the man you have declared yourself to be. Many men believe that success requires dramatic change. It does not. It requires consistent elevation of ordinary acts. If you have demanded greater income, you must render greater service than is expected. If you have demanded leadership, you must exhibit reliability before being recognized for it. If you have demanded influence, you must discipline your speech and thought to match that influence. Demand sets the direction. Conduct determines the speed. There is a principle I have long taught, the habit of going the extra mile. It is not merely additional labor, it is additional quality. It is the willingness to deliver more value than compensation strictly requires. This habit separates the man who gets by from the man who advances. When you begin to raise your daily standard, others will notice before you speak of it. They will see that you complete tasks thoroughly rather than minimally. They will observe that you arrive prepared. They will hear that your language is deliberate rather than careless. Reputation is formed in repetition. Henry Ford insisted upon quality even when others believed speed alone sufficient. He raised the standard of production and demanded precision. That insistence built trust in his product and in his name. Your name must carry the same association. If you have declared that you will build more, then let your daily acts testify to it. Rising 1 hour earlier to study your field, reviewing your written aim morning and evening, measuring your output honestly, eliminating habits that waste time. These acts may seem small, but repeated daily, they compound into visible distinction. The law of accumulation works quietly. A man who raises his standard for 1 day sees little difference. A man who raises it for 1 year becomes unrecognizable. Others will begin to treat you differently. Superiors will assign you greater responsibility because you have demonstrated reliability. Associates will seek your counsel because you have displayed steadiness. Even those who once underestimated you will adjust their judgment. This adjustment is not magic. It is evidence responding to conduct. Let this affirmation anchor your daily behavior. My daily conduct reflects my true capacity. I act in harmony with the life I demand. Speak it before beginning your principal labor. Guard your mind with equal discipline. A raised standard in action must be matched by a raised standard in thought. Refuse gossip. Refuse cynicism. Refuse envy. Such thoughts corrode ambition. Instead, study those who have achieved what you seek. Convert comparison into instruction. Ask not why them, but how. This shift alone can save decades of bitterness. Association must also be examined. If you remain surrounded by those who mock ambition, your elevated standard will be tested constantly. Choose carefully those with whom you share your aims. Carnegie did not attempt to build alone. He surrounded himself with capable men whose thinking expanded his own. This was not vanity, it was strategy. You must align yourself with minds that reinforce your standard rather than diminish it. Raising your conduct may feel uncomfortable at first. Old habits will resist. You may be tempted to relax into familiar ease. But remember, you have declared your claim. To retreat now would be to insult your own word. Honor your word. Honor it in small things. If you commit to complete a task by a certain hour, complete it. If you promise yourself a period of study, fulfill it. Each honored commitment strengthens self-trust. Self-trust is capital. Without it, ambition collapses at the first difficulty. With it, persistence becomes natural. You will begin to experience a new form of satisfaction, not the shallow comfort of getting by, but the deeper satisfaction of expansion. You will feel the quiet pride that accompanies disciplined effort. That pride is not arrogance, it is alignment, and alignment produces energy. Energy attracts opportunity. Opportunity rewards preparation. Thus, the chain continues. Many men waste 10 years waiting for dramatic change. They expect one large opportunity to transform their lives. But transformation occurs through the steady raising of daily standard. One disciplined morning, one extra effort in service, one refusal to indulge mediocrity, one honest review at night. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Repetition is not dullness, it is reinforcement. Within a year of raised conduct, your environment will respond. Your income may increase. Your responsibilities may expand. Your confidence will certainly strengthen. But even if outward results take time, inward transformation will be immediate. You will no longer tolerate sloppy thinking. You will no longer excuse inconsistency. You will no longer settle for good enough when excellence is possible. Excellence is habit. Habit is choice repeated. You were not born to drift through your days at half strength. You were born to exert full capacity. Say again, my daily conduct reflects my true capacity. Let those words guide your actions. For once you raise your standard consistently, getting by becomes intolerable. And when mediocrity becomes intolerable, advancement becomes inevitable. When a man raises his internal standard, he soon discovers an uncomfortable truth. Not every environment welcomes expansion. The same associates who were comfortable with him while he was getting by may grow uneasy when he begins to demand more. This is not hostility. It is contrast. Growth exposes difference. The fourth stage in ceasing to live a life of quiet tolerance is the courage to outgrow what confines you, not with bitterness, not with contempt, but with firmness. Many men remain average not because they lack capacity, but because they fear criticism. Fear of criticism is one of the most paralyzing of the six ghosts. It whispers that if you aim higher, you will be judged. If you speak boldly, you will be misunderstood. If you advance, you will lose approval. Approval is comfortable. Expansion is powerful. You must choose which governs you. When you begin to demand more from yourself, some will question your ambition. They will say you are becoming too serious. They will say you are taking risks unnecessarily. They may even mock your written aims. Understand this clearly. Criticism often masks discomfort. Your growth reflects their stagnation, and reflection is rarely welcomed. Andrew Carnegie did not consult the timid before building boldly. Henry Ford did not ask the doubtful for permission to pursue what they called impossible. They listened selectively. They associated with minds that expanded their own. So must you. To outgrow your environment does not require dramatic departure. It may simply require reducing exposure to discouraging influence. It may mean seeking counsel from those who have achieved what you intend. It may mean investing time in reading and study rather than idle conversation. Association shapes expectation. Expectation shapes action. Action shapes result. If you remain immersed in low expectation, your conduct will eventually soften to match it. This is why selective association is not arrogance. It is protection. Let this affirmation strengthen you. I outgrow what confines me. I choose associations that strengthen my purpose. Speak it when doubt arises. You may experience moments of loneliness. Growth often begins in isolation. When you first elevate your standard, You may feel separated from familiar patterns. That feeling is temporary. It is the space between old identity and new. In that space, persistence is required. Transform envy into study. When you observe someone who has advanced beyond you, do not resent him. Study him. Ask what habits built his success. Ask what thinking preceded his rise. Envy wastes years. Study compresses them. As you elevate your environment, others will notice transformation in you. Some will drift away quietly. Others will draw nearer. The conversations you engage in will change. The topics will rise. The expectations will sharpen. You will find yourself speaking of plans rather than problems, of solutions rather than excuses, of definite aims rather than vague complaints. This change is visible. Opportunity is attracted to environments of seriousness. When you enter a room carrying ambition backed by discipline, you alter the atmosphere. You are no longer blending into mediocrity. You are standing in contrast to it. Contrast commands attention. Attention invites collaboration. Collaboration multiplies effort. The courage to outgrow is also internal. You must outgrow your former self. The man who tolerated getting by must not be allowed to dictate present conduct. His language must be replaced. His excuses must be exposed. When you feel the pull of old comfort, remind yourself of your written demand. Ask whether your present choice aligns with the life you declared. Alignment strengthens. Inconsistency weakens. Outgrowing your environment may also require physical change, a new place of work, a new circle of influence, a new field of service. If so, approach it with planning, not impulse. Demand does not mean recklessness. It means thoughtful expansion. But do not remain confined solely for comfort. Comfort that restricts growth becomes invisible prison. Many men lose 30 years because they feared the discomfort of outgrowing 10. 10 years pass quickly when spent repeating familiar patterns. 30 years pass painfully when regret accumulates. The man who chooses expansion may endure temporary uncertainty, but he avoids permanent regret. Others will observe your courage. They may not say so openly, but they will recognize that you are no longer living for approval. You are living for fulfillment of declared capacity. Fulfillment inspires respect. Respect attracts influence. Influence multiplies opportunity. Thus, courage becomes practical advantage. Say once more, I outgrow what confines me. Let that declaration give you permission to expand. You were not born to remain contained by environments that fear ambition. You were not designed to shrink to preserve comfort. You were designed to expand, and expansion requires courage. But courage, once exercised repeatedly, becomes habit. Habit becomes character. Character shapes destiny, and destiny shaped deliberately no longer resembles getting by. It resembles command. When a man has rejected quiet tolerance, written his definite claim, raised his daily standard, and found the courage to outgrow limiting surroundings, he arrives at a new way of living. Not dramatic, not reckless, but elevated. He no longer lives at the edge of comfort. He lives at the edge of capacity. There is a difference. The edge of comfort is where effort stops as soon as safety is secured. The edge of capacity is where effort continues until growth is demanded. To live at the edge of capacity is to wake each morning aware that the day must advance you, not exhaust you, not entertain you, advance you. This is not strain, it is intention. You review your written demand daily, not as wishful thinking, but as contract. You measure your conduct against it honestly. You adjust your plans without adjusting your aim. This distinction saves years. Most men adjust their aim when difficulty appears. They lower it slightly. They call it realism. But realism without courage becomes surrender. The man living at the edge of capacity adjusts his method, not his mission. He asks, "What must I improve?" Not, "What must I abandon?" That question alone can reclaim 10 lost years. Within months of living this way, visible change occurs. Income begins to reflect value rendered. Opportunities align with seriousness. Confidence deepens because it rests upon action rather than hope. Others will witness the transformation. They will see that you no longer apologize for ambition. They will hear clarity in your voice. They will sense that you are not guessing at your future. You are constructing it. Construction commands respect. Respect invites partnership. Partnership multiplies growth. You will find that evenings no longer feel empty. There is satisfaction in measurable progress. Even when the day was difficult, you know it was directed. Directed difficulty strengthens. Undirected effort drains. Let this affirmation seal your conduct. I was born to build, not to get by. My life reflects my true capacity. Speak it each morning. Repeat it each evening. Repetition is not monotony. It is reinforcement. Over the course of 1 year, lived at the edge of capacity, you will compress what once required a decade. Why? Because you eliminate drift. You eliminate self-doubt fed by inactivity. You eliminate compromise disguised as practicality. 5 such years transform direction permanently. 10 such years build legacy. 30 such years influence generations. And it begins with one refusal, the refusal to accept smallness as safety. You will notice that fear loses authority over you. Fear may still speak, but it no longer commands. It becomes advisor rather than ruler. This is maturity of ambition. The man who lives at the edge of capacity does not chase every opportunity. He selects those aligned with his declared aim. He measures his days. He studies his errors. He corrects swiftly. Correction saves time. Time saved multiplies achievement. The life you were meant to live was never hidden from you. It was obscured by tolerance. Remove tolerance and clarity appears. You were not born to exist cautiously. You were born to apply imagination boldly, to render service generously, to think accurately, and to persist unwaveringly. Living at the edge of capacity does not mean reckless risk. It means refusing stagnation. It means demanding of yourself the effort equal to your potential. Others will begin to consult you differently. They will ask your opinion with seriousness. They will trust your word because you have demonstrated consistency. They will notice that your decisions carry weight. Weight is earned through repetition. Repetition of demand. Repetition of discipline. Repetition of courage. Over time, You will look back upon the period when you merely got by, and it will seem foreign. You will wonder how you tolerated such contraction. You will feel gratitude not for survival, but for awakening. This awakening is not temporary enthusiasm, it is identity. Identity governs destiny. Say again, I was born to build, not to get by. Let those words close the argument within you. The insult of quiet tolerance has been exposed. The decision to demand has been written. The standard of conduct has been raised. The courage to outgrow has been exercised. Now live accordingly. For when a man lives at the edge of his true capacity, life no longer feels narrow. It feels expansive. And expansion is the natural state of one who has finally remembered who he was meant to become. There will be a morning, perhaps not far from now, when you awaken and realize something has changed. Not in your address, not yet in your title, not even fully in your income. The change will be quieter than that. You will notice that you no longer apologize, not outwardly, not inwardly, for wanting more. That will be the day you truly stopped getting by. For years, perhaps without realizing it, you softened your own ambition before presenting it to the world. You explained it away. You disguised it as practicality. You wrapped it in cautious language so that it would not provoke criticism. And in doing so, you reduced its force. Ambition that is constantly explained loses conviction. Conviction explained becomes negotiation. Negotiation becomes compromise. Compromise becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. Identity shapes destiny. You have now broken that chain. You have seen quiet tolerance for what it is, decay disguised as safety. You have written your claim upon life with definiteness. You have raised your daily standard to honor that claim. You have found courage to outgrow environments that preferred your smallness. You have chosen to live at the edge of capacity rather than at the edge of comfort. That is not a minor adjustment. That is rebirth. And rebirth is seldom dramatic in appearance. It is steady. It is deliberate. It is reflected in posture before it is reflected in position. When you stop apologizing for your potential, your language changes. You no longer say, if things work out, and you say, when I complete this. You no longer say, I hope to improve. You say, I am building this. You no longer say, I suppose this is enough. You say, this is the beginning. The world responds to such language differently, not because it is louder, but because it is anchored in decision. Decision has gravity. Gravity attracts. You will find that people begin to treat you as one who is going somewhere. They will not always say it aloud, but they will sense direction. And direction invites opportunity more reliably than charm ever could. Understand this deeply. You were never lacking ability. You were lacking demand. The laws that govern achievement do not ask where you began. They ask what you have decided. They do not inquire about your past compromises. They respond to your present definiteness. The most dangerous lie a man believes is that safety lies in smallness. Smallness offers no safety. It offers stagnation. It offers quiet regret. It offers the dull ache of unused capacity. Expansion, though uncomfortable at first, offers vitality. Vitality replaces envy with study. Vitality replaces complaint with construction. Vitality replaces resignation with resolve. There will be moments ahead when fatigue tempts you to soften your demand, when old habits whisper that getting by was simpler. In those moments, remember what simplicity cost you. It cost you years, years of half-expressed ambition, years of cautious speech, years of moderate effort when greatness was possible. Do not return to that bargain. You have already crossed the invisible line. You have felt the difference between tolerance and demand. Once felt, it cannot be forgotten. Continue to write your aim clearly. Continue to raise your daily conduct. Continue to associate with minds that expand you. Continue to measure your progress without illusion. Continue to adjust your methods without adjusting your standard. If you do this for 1 year, you will reclaim a decade of drift. If you do this for 5 years, you will redirect your entire course. If you do this for 10 years, you will build a life that others will call extraordinary, though you will know it was simply obedient to law. The life you were meant to live was never beyond you. It was waiting for you to cease apologizing for it. There is dignity in demand. There is strength in clarity. There is freedom in discipline. And there is deep satisfaction in knowing that you did not shrink to fit your fear. One day, perhaps many years from now, you will sit quietly and reflect. You will see the moment when you refuse to accept getting by as sufficient. You will recognize it as a turning point, not because lightning struck, not because fortune arrived overnight, but because you chose expansion over ease. You chose demand over drift. You chose construction over comfort. And that choice, repeated daily, shaped everything that followed. You were not born to get by. You were born to build. You were born to decide. You were born to rise. Live in a manner worthy of that truth. And never again apologize for the full measure of your potential.